my friend, and welcome. This is a little bit of a different video because I'm gearing it specifically towards photography educators. The reason why I wanted to create this video was to do kind of a call in to photography educators, people that educate on things like lighting people, posing, whether it's weddings, families, portraits, boudoir, whatever the thing is. If you're an educator of the photography of humans, then this is a video for you. Okay. I am hoping that by you watching this, you are somebody that truly believes that everybody is worthy of being photographed, right? I think most of us have really good intentions, especially those of us that are in the service industry where we grew our businesses by photographing different bodies, different people, and things like that. So I'm going to assume the intention of most folks is to not intentionally be letting, what's the word? For the sake of this video, I am going to assume that the intention of the photographers watching this is to not purposefully neglect photographing certain bodies, but instead they may be letting their biases and beliefs get in the way around what it means to photograph different bodies. Because it is my understanding that if you are somebody that gets into the art of photography, especially as an educator, that you want to help people see that they are worthy of being documented. Okay, so let's just assume for the sake of this video that the educators I'm talking to, and that's you, that you are trying to educate people on how to do their job to the best of their abilities. Right? Whether that's through the lens of, no pun intended, through the lens of lighting, posing, technology, whatever it is. Right? And so as an educator, you standardly will put out content, whether that's behind the scenes of you photographing someone, whether that's hosting a workshop or shootout where you bring other photographers in, whether it's speaking at a conference where you show your work, whether it's doing your actual, serving your clients and so on, doing creative projects and so forth, right? And in that vein, you're showing bodies a lot. You're showing models a lot. You're showing people in your studio, outside, families, weddings, however you stylize shoots, things like that. And you're bringing other people in to photograph them for the sake of your course or content. So my call in to you as a photography educator is to simply get curious. If you believe that everybody is worthy of being documented, why do you maybe only use certain bodies to showcase how to light? Why do you only use certain bodies to showcase how to photograph families? Why do you utilize certain bodies to showcase how to photograph a wedding, for example? And this isn't to make anybody feel shame about the content they're producing, because chances are, if you're an educator, you're really good at the work that you do, and that's amazing. You're the master of light, you're the master of posing, you are all of the things, and that's wonderful. So I want you to get curious and look at your portfolio of educational content that you've put out for the last 6 months to a year, we'll say, okay? And in the last 6 months to a year, at every conference, shootout, workshop, online content, workbook, PDF, posing guide, whatever, how many of those bodies are bodies that standardly go underrepresented, if represented at all? So I'm talking fat bodies, visibly fat bodies. I'm not talking about people that are like a size 12. I'm talking about like a size 18, 20, 22, 24, larger bodies. I'm talking about folks that, sorry, that was my computer. folks that have disabilities. I'm talking about trans folks. I'm talking about queer couples. I'm talking about all of the bodies that standardly go underrepresented, not just in the photography industry, but in the photography educational sphere. And again, this isn't to make you feel bad about the work that you've put out, but rather to get you to think about the work you're going to put out. The content that you are going to teach on. The content that every year you teach on the same topic, perhaps. Maybe, again, you're the master of light, right? And every year you bring in the same model because you have a really good working relationship, because that's the person you've worked with this whole time. Wonderful. I want you to consider what it could look like if you were to bring in a different body. Somebody that, because if you're teaching lighting, the body doesn't really matter, right? Like if you're teaching how to light a subject, the subject really just sits there for you to show how light looks on the face or on the body and so on. So my question to you would be, what would it look like if you did bring in a fat model? What would it look like if you did bring in a model with a disability? What would it look like if you did bring in a trans body? Like somebody that had this, is just as deserving of being in the spotlight and modeling because they have been working and perfecting their poses, and you have really good connection and they know what to do and they're hard workers. What would it look like? And it's not to be revolutionary, because I promise you it isn't revolutionary to do the bare minimum. I want it to be inclusive, because here's what's happening, and this is what I've seen just as somebody that educates on body image in the photography sphere, is the amount of Facebook groups I'm in with upcoming photographers freaking out a little bit because they don't know what it looks like to light a plus size body, a mature body, a body with a disability. They don't know, there's very few educators out there that are showing how to apply the practices on bodies differently than the standard models we've seen our whole lives. And so what happens then is this breeds an othering identity for folks that fall outside of the beauty standard that currently exists. And it makes not just the photographer feel less confident when photographing different bodies, but it also does a disservice to the clients, to the subject on the other end of that experience, because they themselves don't think that they're worthy of being photographed because nobody sees it. And I thought for a long time, if I just kept educating photographers, upcoming photographers, on how to diversify their portfolio, on how to challenge their body image biases and beliefs, then maybe, just maybe, we'd make some headway, and we certainly have. So don't get me wrong, there has been some change that has been made in the industry, especially in the boudoir world, which is phenomenal. And I do attribute that to that it is very female driven. Okay? However, last year I was at a portrait conference, and I was the only shooting bay that had bodies over a certain size, and I was named the body positive bay, which I personally did not choose. I wanted to just show up and teach people how to photograph bodies, but because I had bigger bodies, they assumed that it was the body positive bay. And the thing is, to photograph plus size bodies, you don't have to, it doesn't mean you're automatically thrust into a body positive space. It means you're doing the bare minimum of showing people that they're all worthy of being photographed. But what struck me the most was that out of all the educators, I was the only person that was showing people how to work with and just photograph bodies being bodies. And it struck me as unusual, because there was a lot of people that are extremely talented at their craft. They're amazing at lighting. They're amazing at set design. They're amazing at costume design. They're amazing at all these things. And yet, despite being amazingly skilled, they still continue to use one certain body type. And it got me to realize that I, as one person, I, as one photography educator, can only do so much in the photography industry by educating upcoming photographers that I actually don't need to be talking to them as much. Who I need to be talking to is you, the photography educators, and encourage you to look at, why am I not including more bodies in the content that I'm putting out? Because if you are as skilled as you are to be in a position where you're teaching people, it should not matter what body is in front of you. You should be able to create beautiful imagery of them. You should be able to serve them to the same extent that you would somebody in a smaller body. And yet we're not seeing it. So this is my call in to you as a photography educator. I want to encourage you as you go forward this year with all of your planning of workshops and posing guides and lighting guides and everything, to just consider putting underrepresented bodies into your work. I want you to consider the people who have been left out of this conversation. And if you're like, well, there's nobody out there, there's nobody that wants to do it, that's a lie. And I can hook you up with some people that will be more than happy to help you out. I can hook you up with models. I can hook you up with education. I can hook you up with all the things. So just reach out to me if this is something you truly are looking at. I am more than happy to be your Sherpa on this guide to body inclusivity in the photography industry. And the thing is, you might get it wrong along the way. We all do. I created confident curves back in 2016, which at the time was revolutionary because I was showing plus size bodies in the same poses that I was doing with my smaller bodies. But I still called it confident curves. I still pinpointed that this is different than other posing guides, which I think in order for there to be true inclusivity, we just need posing guides that just show different bodies. There's no celebration that there's different bodies. There's no, look how good I am because I show these different bodies. There's just, I teach posing and these are the bodies that I posed. I teach lighting and these are the bodies that I lit. I teach set design and costume design and hair and makeup styling, and these are the bodies that were part of that experience. It isn't something to be othered. Because truly, at the end of the day, we have the ability to change who believes that they're worthy of being photographed. We are the role models for the upcoming photographers. And if we want to see a change in how we view ourselves and how our children view themselves, then it does start with us. We are the media makers. We are the ones who get to redefine what beauty means. So why aren't we using our skills? Why aren't we using our talent? Why aren't we using our platforms to start shifting this? Now, if you are somebody, I should have probably said this at the beginning, if you are somebody that is like, nope, I only want to photograph one type of body, I don't believe fat bodies should be photographed, I don't believe bodies with disabilities deserve a platform, I don't believe, whatever the thing is that you don't believe, cool, this message isn't for you. I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm here to simply ask you to consider if you are somebody that loves what you do, that loves being able to educate, that loves standing in front of a room full of humans, because you have the ability to change the way people not just see their clients, but also how they see themselves, and see it as normal, as common, as just, this is how we pose, this is how we light, this is how we style. And it's not to style based on these rules. It's not to light based on making you look smaller. It's not rules based on how to make you go away. It's based on, here's how we can celebrate you as you are. Right? So that's my call in today. And I hope that, we have so much ability to change the media, to change what's being put out there. And while I thought it started with upcoming photographers, I was wrong. It starts with us, the educators. and just start diversifying the bodies we're showing in all of our guides and workshops and shootouts, and not making a big deal about it because it's just what we do. It starts with you.